And Mr. Sharp, good afternoon, gentlemen. All right, Mr. Williams, Mr. Steele, Mr. Adams, and Ms. Renard, good afternoon. All right, Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Weinstein, good afternoon. All right, and good afternoon, Mr. Kendrick and, I'm sorry, Mr. Huey and Mr. Matthew Sr. All right, and then good afternoon, Mr. Nichols and Mr. Garner, good afternoon. All right, and then Mr. Ryan and Misty Williams, good afternoon. All right. Ms. Love, Mr. Atkins, and Messrs. Brown and Smith, good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right. Sergeant Ingram, all our jurors present?
Yes, sir, all present.
Okay, all right. So, first order of business, any other updates on our juror 204 lease that takes effect tomorrow?
Your Honor, the state has no objection to the court excusing juror 204 for residency requirements.
I don't want to excuse, I really don't, but I think that we'll have a legal impediment at the time of the verdict. That would be the court's, even though I don't know how a ruling would come down on that, but I don't want to take that chance.
And under the circumstances, since there is that, I believe, request on the part of the defendants, we definitely would not want to object.
But they're preserving their rights, but I don't think they're objecting either. Is that correct, Mr. Steele?
Right. Yes, we've not been consistent. We are asking for her to be removed, so we don't waive the issue. That's exactly right.
Okay.
As long as that's the case, we don't have any objection. As long as every one of them is asking for her to be
Anybody wish to be
removed.
heard on that issue at all? Like I said, my preference would be to leave her, but I don't think I have a legal basis to leave her. And my concern would be that if she is here at the time of the verdict, she would not be a qualified juror because she would not be a resident.
And Your Honor, if each of the defendants could, if the court will allow each of them to just on the record either state no objection to the removal or ask that she be removed so that there is no issue.
Okay. All right. Mr. Weinstein?
There's no objection, Your Honor.
Mr. Matthew Sr.?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Steele, we've captured your response. Mr. Botts? All right. Mr. Garner?
No objection.
All right, and Ms. D. Williams?
No objection, Your Honor.
Did I miss anybody? Okay, I don't think so. All right. Okay, so at the conclusion of today, we'll go ahead and excuse her, okay?
Thank you, Judge.
All right. All right. Anything else I need to take up before we call our jurors?
This report, Judge, with respect to the system outage that has occurred, as the court is aware of,
You talking about Odyssey, or what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the internet, the ability for the defense bar to be able to access the internet and be able to grab and capture our files, to be able to do our legal research. It's my understanding, of course it hadn't been confirmed, but I believe the district attorney's office is on their own network, private network, so they're able to access, whereas we are having to depend on hotspots which are spotty, which are sometimes shaky in terms of being able to keep the connectivity. So we are asking, as the defense bar, to be able to allow IT to come in and perhaps put a hotspot here in the courtroom or something of that nature so that we can have access to the internet at all times, Judge, respectfully.
There's full co-public, and that is, I believe, on at this point in time.
We have no access.
You should be able to, because anybody in the courthouse, full co-public.
No, can't get on. And we haven't been able to get on all week.
Because I'm on it right now.
Yeah.
And I'm on my device.
We can log on, Your Honor, but we can't get internet access through that Wi-Fi network.
Is there anyone on our side that is able to get on Fulton County Public?
No.
All right.
I can do that. That's because that's open to the public. That is what everyone who comes in the courthouse, to include the courthouse crowd, unless we have now I know that the courthouse, each chambers has a secure system.
Right. So it's not working for us. Full public is not working. It hasn't worked. It hasn't, to put on the record, it has not worked all last week, and it hasn't worked any this week.
Your Honor, one of our team members was able to get on in the hallway, I believe, but here it's just not working.
All right, I can make a phone call, but that's the best I can do in terms of checking the access. But
Okay.
say again. Would you sit down, please? You were doing so well too, Mr. Botts. Okay, all right, okay, all right. I'll make an inquiry. We'll see what we can.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Mr. Kern.
Sorry?
May we have this on, please? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. When you get a chance, can you call Aaron and find out if he can troubleshoot the Wi-Fi
Thank you.
here and down in 1C? Because they apparently the lower lobby's telling me. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Bye. Okay, I have made a call, Mr. Matthews, and we'll see what we can do for you, okay? All right, Ms. D. Williams, do you have your order? Or has it been entered as, prepared and entered as of yet?
My attorney is still talking with GPDC. They're trying to figure out the terms.
Okay. Imminent, Monday, Tuesday?
That's depending on GPDC.
When we have our break, can you call and find out, tell her that I asked about, about the order?
Yes, I can.
Or if you'd like, just to loop, send an email, or have your lawyer send an email and loop me in on it so I can do a reply all.
I can do that.
Yeah, because then, people might be more interested if they know that I'm interested.
Right.
Okay, all right. So I would just invite you to do that. Maybe we can close the circle on that. Okay, all right. Okay, and then, Sergeant Ingram, you can go ahead and get our jurors for us, please. Thank you. I'll tell our jurors as well, counsels, that about the 27th, when we're going to work and they don't need to be here. So that'll be the first thing I'll tell them, okay? All right.
out for the jury.
Okay. Okay.
All jurors present account for.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, good afternoon. All right, let's start out with some announcements first, okay? All right. We're going to work till probably around a little before 4 o'clock, and then we're going to, that'll be our work day for today, okay? Monday, you'll need to be here at about 10:30 for an 11 o'clock start time. We'll work from about 11 to about 4. On the 27th of February, that's Tuesday, that will be an administrative day for you, okay? That's that Tuesday the 27th. 28th will be a regular work day. We'll start at 1000 hours, between 1000 and 10:30. Thursday the 29th, we'll start around 9:30. And on the 1st of March, we will have a regular work day from about 9 until about 4-ish or thereabouts. That's our work week. And then, the following week, we'll work on Monday, that's the 4th, and then the 5th through the 12th, you will be on, you'll be on it will be an administrative period for you as well. So that's kind of the next couple 3 weeks, okay? All right? Okay. State ready? Call your next witness.
The state calls Senior Patrol Officer Antonius Black.
All right, summon Antonius Black, please. Officer Black, good afternoon, sir. Sir, if you would please approach the witness stand. Once you get there, if you would be so kind to turn and face Sergeant Ingram to be sworn as a witness before you sit down, sir.
Raise your right hand. Swear first, just when you give the name truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
That's it. State and spell your first and last name for the course, please.
Senior Police Officer Antonius Black. First name spelling Antonius. Last name Black.
Good morning, Senior Police Officer Black. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing okay.
I can say good afternoon.
All right.
Where are you currently employed?
City of Atlanta Police Department.
And how long have you been employed there?
With the City of Atlanta Police Department since June 2003.
And what zones have you worked in APD?
Zone 3.
Are you still currently working in Zone 3?
Yes, sir.
Now, what part of the city would you describe Zone 3 is in the city of Atlanta?
Basically, the southeast and also southwest side of Atlanta.
And in your time working in Zone 3, what kind of crimes have you responded to?
Probably all.
And have you worked different beats within Zone 3?
Yes.
Now, this may be difficult to tell the jury, but if you had to ballpark, how many crimes have you responded to in Zone 3 in your career?
I can't even tell you. I don't. It's too many to keep up.
Now, how many people have you interacted with in Zone 3 in your career?
It's going to be the same answer. It's too many to keep up throughout the years.
Is it hundreds, thousands?
Thousands.
And of the people you've interacted with while on duty in Zone 3, how many were suspects in a crime, victims in a crime, or something else?
I want to say probably half and half.
How familiar are you with the neighborhoods within Zone 3?
I should be very familiar with it.
And how would you describe the residents of Zone 3? Are they hardworking people?
Yes, sir.
And based on your years patrolling Zone 3, are the majority of people in Zone 3 law-abiding citizens?
Sustained.
Officer Black, with your personal experience working in Zone 3 since, was it 2003 you said?
That's when I started with the City of Atlanta Police Department. Went through the academy, got assigned in 2004.
How would you describe the majority of citizens that you personally interacted with in Zone 3 in terms of being law-abiding?
Non-false speculation and relevance.
I sustain the objection.
Were the majority of the people that you personally interacted with in Zone 3 suspects?
Your Honor, it's the same question, objection.
I sustain the objection.
Are you post-certified, Officer Black?
Yes, sir.
Were you post-certified in September 11th of 2013?
Yes.
Now, on that day, what was your assignment?
No, I was a senior police officer. Actually, it was field training. Basically, I was assigned a particular beat. I cannot recall exactly which beat I was assigned to, but it was in Zone 3.
What location were you operating in that day in terms of roadways in Zone 3?
Basically, I was working the B sector of Zone 3, which is from Arthur Langford, which is 166, everything southbound up into the Clayton County line.
Who were you field training that day?
Ashley Davis at the time.
Did she go by Ashley Matthews now?
Yeah, she has been married since.
And can you kind of describe what your role is of field training her that you were doing back then?
Basically teaching her, guiding her about being a patrol officer.
And did you, while you were on patrol with her that day, did you ever wind up on the corner of Cleveland Avenue and Old Hateville Road?
Yes.
What is, when y'all were there, what is that location?
Basically, we was at a corn laundry right there on the corner of Cleveland and Old Hateville. We was about to do a direct patrol at that particular corn laundry place.
Now, are you familiar with that location and kind of the surrounding area at the corn laundry?
Yes, sir.
I want to talk with you a little bit about that area. Publishing what's been previously admitted as State's Exhibit 134 Charlie. And Officer Black, there's a screen to your left and there's a bigger one behind you, whichever one works best for you to look at. In relation to what you had just described, being at the corner of Cleveland and Old Hateville, do you see where you all were at in that moment?
Yes, I was in the parking lot right here to the left side of this picture.
And Officer Black, I'm gonna, there's a pointer up here that we may use a little bit. I'm gonna entrust this to you.
Okay.
And if you want, on the larger one behind you, can you point out where you all were situated?
I was back then right here to this retaining wall area. I was back then right here.
And what is that roadway to the right?
Right here, this is Old Hateville Road.
I'm going to publish what's been previously admitted as State Exhibit 129, Charlie. It should come up on the screen in just 1 minute. Now, do you see in this photograph the coin laundry where you were parked, the general area?
Yeah, it's right up here to the right corner.
And you see where that car is on the left side of State Exhibit 129, Charlie?
Right here?
Yes.
Yes.
What is over in that area?
This apartment complex.
What apartment complex is it?
In Summerdale
Now,
Commons.
Summerdale Commons?
Yes.
Now, have you ever responded to that apartment complex in your career working in Zone 3?
Yes, I have.
And how are the apartment buildings in that complex identified? Is it numbers? Is it letters?
The buildings?
Yes.
In that particular location is numbers.
I'm going to also publish what's been marked as state or already admitted as State's Exhibit 131, Charlie. Now, do you see the entrance to the Summerdale apartments we were just discussing? Depicted in this photograph?
It's gonna be on this right over here.
Now, imagine you're following this school bus straight. Do you see that school bus in the photograph?
You can't hardly see it through the trees.
So that would be on the left?
Yes, sir.
Are those also a part of the Summerdale apartment complex?
Yes, sir.
And is there a building C in that portion of Summerdale apartment complex?
Of course.
Now, thank you, Officer Black. I'm going to turn your attention back to... Yes, you may sit down. We may utilize some other exhibits momentarily.
Gotcha.
So turning back to when you're in your patrol car with Officer Davis, were you in uniform?
Yes.
Was she in uniform?
Yes.
Were you in a marked patrol car?
Yes.
And if you can recall, what was your all's goal, or what were you doing while you were parked in the coin laundry?
We were just gonna pull out on a direct patrol at that particular location.
What is a direct patrol?
Basically, we were just posted up, actually just being visible within that area. You know, that's one of the like high crime locations within the zone. So we were just being visible, showing visibility.
And with who was driving?
My trainee was Officer Davis.
And where were you seated in the patrol car?
I was in the front passenger seat.
Now, can you describe for the jury, while you and Officer Davis are seated there, did anything unusual happen?
Basically, we were sitting there, we was having a conversation. I was getting ready to pull out on a direct patrol. She heard gunshots. She actually did. I heard it, but wasn't sure at the time because I was actually engaged in talking to her. So we both kind of got quiet. Then we started hearing other type sounds. I heard a sound, and I thought it was possibly like a garbage truck dumping a dumpster. I said, it sounded like a dumpster or something. Then we started hearing more sounds as it started getting closer. And then that's when I said, it sounds like it's getting closer. And then that thing, a car just dropped to my right, just out of the sky. And then as it dropped to the ground or in the parking lot next to us, it went forward right into the corn laundromat.
I'm going to publish what's been already admitted as State's Exhibit 33, Charlie. Now, with what you just described, do you see where your patrol car was that day?
Yes, sir, right here.
And do you see the car you just mentioned that crashed right next to y'all's patrol car?
The red car that's directly in front of us, up against the corn laundry wall.
Now, did the car land on your side, the passenger, or on the driver's side?
It landed on the passenger side.
And in this photograph, are both the front doors open in the patrol car?
Yes.
In relation to your passenger door open as depicted in this photograph, how close did that car come?
It would have hit that door.
And what was your initial reaction to seeing this?
Basically, I was very startled, I'll say that. Very startled.
Now, I'm going to also publish what's been previously admitted as 31, Charlie. Do you recognize 31, Charlie, Officer Black?
Yes.
So, can you describe for the jury, after the vehicle lands and crashes into that coin laundry, what did you see next?
Once it hit, there's like about 4, maybe 5 black males exited that vehicle. I know there was one that was closer to me because basically it's just like a quick reaction. I just jumped out the vehicle. My trainee jumped out the vehicle. The closest guy I grabbed by the collar of his shirt, placed him, told him to get down to the ground. And when I looked back, my trainee was about to pass the vehicle. Then I saw another male. Basically, he already had gotten out the back seat on the passenger side of that red vehicle, and it almost like he was about to try to slip behind her. She didn't see him, and I told her to get the one on the ground, get him.
Now, I want to break this down a little bit. Where did the other males that you described that you saw get out of the car go, other than the ones you and Officer Davis?
There were two others that, facing this picture, they went towards the right. There's a retainer wall over here. They jumped the retainer wall and the fence over on the right side.
Can you use that pointer to help describe what you just stated? Thank you, sir.
On that side over here, and there go the fence over here. So I got one guy here. The other guy was like right here. She was like right here about, I guess she was about to pursue the other two that was running. But he was almost slipped behind him, so I told her to grab the other guy that was coming here. And that's where she had him stop right here. And basically, that's where she had him at. And I told him to hold him right there while I had my guy.
Now, were the two males who scaled the fence, were they moving slowly or quickly?
They was moving, from what I can remember, pretty fast.
Now, if you were me facing, say the fence is right in front of me, where this council table is.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to scale that fence and go immediately to your left, what would you encounter?
There's a parking lot over in this area.
What businesses are in that parking lot?
It's like a, I want to say like a hairstyling place over there. I want to say like a school or something too, but I can't recall. It's a plaza.
Have you driven by or been in that plaza before?
They have answered a call over there, some thefts. They sell wigs, hair supplies, stuff like that.
I'm going to publish what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 132, Charlie. Do you recognize anything depicted in this exhibit, Officer Black?
Yeah, this that same parking lot I just pointed out right here. That's the back fence area right here, where they jump over there on the side.
And is this, if you scaled that fence and went left, the area that you would end up at?
Yes. Yeah, because that's the corn laundry area right here. And we was on that back side. So if he came to the left, this way he'd end up there.
I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 31, Charlie. Now, Officer Black, if you were to scale that fence and go to your immediate right, what building would you run into?
Basically, it's like backyards. From here?
Correct.
Yeah, this fence. Well, the car right here went through whatever fence that was right here. But there's some more fences over here. You would have jumped in the backyard. So, like, I want to say 3 houses.
What's on the other side of those houses?
The apartment phase, the other phase of Summerdale Commons.
Is that the phase of Summerdale Commons that uses numbers or letters for the building?
The letters.
Could you get there on foot if you scaled that fence?
Yes, you can. I think it may be 2 fences you probably have to jump before you actually get to 2, maybe 3. The third one's probably separating the residents, the houses, from the apartment complex.
Now, Officer Black, I'm going to approach with what is admitted for demonstrative purposes, the State's Exhibit 150, Charlie. Oh, you may take a seat momentarily. Thank you.
All right.
Now, take a look at that and let me know once you've reviewed it.
Okay.
What is that?
It's a map of that whole location that I was pointing out, along with Old Hateville, the apartment complexes, the phases, the first phase and the second phase, the laundromat, and the parking lot of that plaza, right on the side or back of that laundromat.
And how do you recognize it?
There's got the name of the streets on here so I can see that. And also the buildings with the names of it, and I see Cleveland Avenue.
Now, does that depict how that area looked back on September 11, 2013 in general?
I mean, it's a map of it. A lot changed, but yeah.
In terms of relation to the coin laundry and the apartment complexes you discussed?
Yes. Yeah.
And is it a fair and accurate depiction of how that area looked back in 2013?
Yes, sir, from what I'm looking at.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves to admit in evidence State's Exhibit 150, Charlie.
Any objection to States 150, Charlie?
Judge, can I take a look at what
Certainly,
witness
ma'am.
has, please? May I step up?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
I do have an objection, Judge. May I put some questions to the witness in regards to this
What's your
the
objection, sir?
foundation?
Overruled. All right. You can ask him on cross, okay? All right.
All right. Can I state on the record, or can I step up and put my complete objection on the record in regards to why there's a lack of foundation?
He's laid a foundation. I concur. So I'm gonna overrule your objection at this point in time.
Understood. As for
Yeah, do you have another objection you'd like to pose?
No, the base of the objection is foundation.
Okay.
I do not believe he's laid a proper foundation for this photograph.
All right, I'm overruling that objection, okay, sir?
As for continuing objection.
Okay, all right. So noted. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm going to admit States 150, Charlie, may be published as you see fit for demonstrative purposes.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state is publishing State's Exhibit 150, Charlie. Now, Officer Black, if you don't mind, I may have you stand up again and help orient us to this map.
Yes, sir.
Can you help, using that pointer, show us where the coin laundry is that you've been talking about in 150 Charlie?
It's right over here.
And where is the Summerdale apartment complex that uses the numbers for the buildings?
Over here.
And where is the second part of that Summerdale apartment complex?
Over here.
And so can you show what, if you were to scale the fence that we had just discussed and take a right and run on foot, can you describe what direction of travel you would be with this?
These are the residences here. They have fences separating from each other's property. If you jump the fence here, you'll basically be scaling the fences. All you got to do is just keep going southbound. This fence right here will get you to this property.
Now, Officer Black, were either of the two males that hopped that fence ever detained that day?
From what I heard, I've never seen, I heard on radio that
I stand the objection. Okay.
Now, I'm going to publish what's been already admitted as State's Exhibit 32, Charlie. Now, I wanted to take a step back to, you had described some of the males that were closer to you that you detained. Can you use the pointer to describe where the male that you encountered, where were you all?
I jumped out right here. They came out over here, so it was over here this side.
What side of the car did that individual get out of?
This side here, from what I can remember.
So the passenger side?
Mm-hmm.
And when you encountered him, was he injured?
Yes.
Do you recall where?
In the back, upper back area.
And was there any bleeding?
Yes. I have blood all over my left forearm.
Now, can you describe about how tall was he?
About my height, 6'3", 6'4".
And about how much did he weigh?
Well, I'm at 330, so somewhere close to that. I mean, I'm assuming. So he's close to 300.
So was he? So he was about your height and weight.
Yes.
Would you say you're small or tall?
Compared to others,
Compared to others?
tall.
All right. Now, when you interact with him, did you have to handcuff him
Yes.
with the individual she detained?
Basically, he was, I ain't gonna say laid out. He was actually sitting up. He didn't want her to leave his side. He was basically holding on to her, the pants leg around the ankles, asking her not to leave.
Was he also injured?
Yes, he was shot.
Now, I'm going to publish what's been already admitted as State's Exhibit 36 Charlie. Officer Black, with 36 Charlie, what are those on the ground? What is that red marks on the ground around this car?
There's blood over here.
And do you know, in relation to the suspect you encountered, where this blood came from? Those
This
pools?
one from what my trainee had, because this way he came, this way he was sliding at. He was like going in this direction. I saw him like going behind her, so that's when I told her, get him. Because she didn't see him at first.
Did it initially appear like he was trying to get away?
To me, because as she was going this way, he was coming this way like he was trying to go behind as if she wasn't paying attention. So if she didn't see me, I'm going to try to, if I was him.
That makes sense. I'm going to publish also what's already been admitted as 38 Charlie. Is this another depiction of what you were just discussing with the blood on the ground?
Yeah, but this way he was going in right here. And she was like coming in this area.
I'm going to publish what's already been admitted as 39 Charlie. Is that a close-up of those?
Yeah, the blood, yeah. This way you coming from right here.
Now, I'm going to publish what's also already been admitted as State's Exhibit 34 Charlie. Now, Officer Black, do you see the red vehicle in this photograph?
Yes, sir.
And do you see, what is that piece of metal on the back end of it?
On the back of the car?
Yes.
Like trunk, I guess.
And
Like trunk.
what is that red mark kind of, using this photograph, kind of towards the right of that piece of the trunk?
In the parking lot on the ground?
In the parking lot on the ground?
Right here?
Correct.
That's blood. That's where that second individual was bleeding out at.
I'm going to publish what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 35, Charlie. Is this a close-up of what you were just discussing?
Yes, sir. That's why he was holding on to her, telling her not to leave him.
Now, were any medical personnel
Yeah,
able to
they
respond?
eventually came out. Mm-hmm.
And after you and Officer Davis secured and helped get medical help for those individuals, did you have any other involvement with this crime scene?
After that, no, because basically our detectives, they all just, whatever occurred, they all just popped up out of nowhere, because I didn't know what was going on, honestly.
Were you still a little bit maybe in shock of what happened?
After standing there, things calmed down. I kind of looked at that red car, then I looked at my patrol car, looked at the red car again, and at my patrol car, and I realized what could have went down if it was over just to the left. And I'm sitting up in that patrol car, so if it was over to the left, I wouldn't be here. I will never forget that.
One moment, sir. Now, Officer Black, do you wear glasses?
Yes.
Oh, you may sit down. Thank you for your patience, Officer Black. Now, do you wear glasses is that for distance vision?
Yes,
Were you wearing glasses on September 11th, 2013?
of course.
Did you have them on when the car dropped out of the sky and landed next to you?
Yes.
Did you have them on when you saw the 4 to 5 black males run from that car after it hit the wall?
Yes.
How far were you from the red car when you saw the 4 to 5 black males run?
Basically, probably just, I can't say if I was still in the car, my patrol car, or I was jumping out. That part I can't remember exactly.
And I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 31, Charlie, and ask you one last question, Officer Black. How far were you from this retaining wall in State's Exhibit 31, Charlie, when you saw the 2 black males scale that fence?
I was still with the guy that I had put down on the ground. I did not try to leave him. So once I had him in my custody, that's where I stayed. And I just remember just looking up at him, but other than that, I just kept my attention on this guy.
And did you have on your glasses when you saw them scale the fence?
Yes.
Thank you, Officer Black.
Cross. Right ahead, sir.
Officer Black, good afternoon, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
I am good. I'm good. You and I have met before, right?
Yes.
About a day or two ago, we had a chance to chat outside.
Yes.
And you were kind enough to discuss with me your recollection of things that happened back in 2013. True?
Yes.
All right. I think, and you tell me if I'm right or not, that we also talked about the description of the individuals that you saw on that day. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, we talked about the gentleman that you grabbed a hold of, the guy who had the injury to the back.
Yes.
And just to be clear, he had a gunshot to the back, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the other guy who was on the ground next to the car that was I guess apprehended by Officer Davis was also suffering from a gunshot wound. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. As a matter of fact, those pictures that we saw up a little while ago with all the blood stains, that's where I think you used the word bleeding out. That's where your guy was bleeding out on kind of the left side, the back of the car, right?
My guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was bleeding in the back.
Right, but in
But
terms
her guy was the one that was doing all the bleeding, so.
he was the one on the ground.
Yes.
The guy that you, actually, let me back up a little bit, okay? Let me kind of start from the beginning. You and Davis are sitting in the car, right?
Yes.
This car comes kind of flying out of nowhere, lands on the ground, and ends up smack against the laundromat. True?
Yes.
Okay. You see individuals get out of the car
Yes.
and run, right? Your description or your recollection is that it's 4, maybe 5 individuals, right?
Yes.
Okay. The person who Officer Davis ended up apprehending or interacting with, that person got out of the rear passenger seat of the car. Is that right?
That's where I seen him at, yes.
Okay, that's where you saw him at. Fair to say that person didn't get very far.
No.
All right. The gunshot that he had was it to the leg, the groin area, something like that?
Yeah, it was to the groin area now. Which side, I can't say.
Okay, but he he wasn't very mobile. True?
No.
Okay. All right. So we know that guy who was in the car is out and he's laying on the ground. He had on a red shirt, did he not?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right. The guy who got out of the car that you grabbed a hold of, where was he in the car? Do you recall?
No, I don't recall if he was in the front, back, not sure.
Okay. But he was a big guy.
Yes.
He was easily over 6 feet tall.
Yes.
Now, I heard 300 pounds thrown around a little while ago. He was in the area of about 300 pounds.
You can be 280, 305, 310,
He
somewhere.
was a big guy.
Yeah.
You're a big guy.
Yeah.
I think you told me the other day, you're a little bigger now than you were back then. Back then you were kind of slimmer, trimmer, that sort of thing. My words. You were
Yeah.
smaller.
Well, I'd say more toned. Yeah.
All right. You've gotten thick fine over there. Okay. Anyway, but he was a big dude.
Yeah.
And he had a gunshot to the back. And he was bleeding as well.
I think it was close to like the shoulder blade areas.
Okay. One of the things I think you testified to, and maybe you told me also, is that you were holding him, and it was after a while that you realized you had blood all over your arm that was coming from him. From
Yeah, from when I grabbed him to the back of his collar.
Okay. He had on a blue shirt.
It was like a light blue.
Okay. So we've got the guy on the ground with Davis who has on a shirt. You don't remember the color, right? But you know that the big guy who got out of wherever in the car he got out, he had on a blue shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, there were other individuals, you said 4, maybe 5 altogether, right? But at least 2 others you saw go towards the right of where the car landed, right?
Yes.
All right. Would I be correct in saying that you don't really you can't recall a good description of those individuals?
No.
If I were to ask you what they were wearing, you couldn't recall?
No, sir.
If I were to ask you what they looked like, hairstyle, that sort of thing, you couldn't really recall?
No.
Okay. All right. Were you aware of someone else with a blue shirt being apprehended somewhere around the corner?
No.
Okay. The vehicle that was crashed against the laundromat, it was kind of a small car, right? What was it, an Altima?
I don't remember the make and model.
It wasn't a big car.
No, it wasn't no big large sedan though, but
Okay.
4 doors.
Okay. It's fair to say that your role in this kind of started with that car coming over and dropping there on the ground, and ended with you and Davis kind of interacting with and apprehending these 2 individuals.
Yes.
You didn't conduct any additional investigation.
No.
Right? Oh, the laundromat. You're familiar with that laundromat, and you were familiar with it back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of whether there are cameras in that laundromat, or in or around that laundromat?
No, I don't recall.
Okay. You're not saying that they're not, you don't recall?
No.
Okay. And granted, this was a little over 10 years ago. Fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would I be correct in saying that you're not sure about whether or not there were cameras on the side of the laundromat closer to that, what you described as a retaining wall?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Did you have any interaction with the other detectives or investigators who showed up on the scene?
I mean, they all showed up on scene. We was all right there in the parking lot.
Okay.
And I was just trying to find out what was going on.
Okay. Did you have any conversations with any detectives or any other officers about getting video from the owner of the laundromat?
No.
Did you have any conversations with that?
No, I don't recall any. No.
Did you talk to, or do you know Officer Detective Quinn?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see him on that day?
I don't remember.
Okay. What about Velasquez? You know Velasquez?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have conversation with him on that day?
I don't remember.
Okay. There is a crime scene, well, was there a crime scene unit that showed up on the scene?
Yes.
Okay. You would not have had any interaction with the crime scene unit, correct?
No, I really don't have no recall of that either. All I remember is just dealing with what we was dealing with right there, but as for investigation purpose-wise.
Wasn't you?
No.
Okay. All right. You don't know what happened before that car came sailing out of the sky, right? What was going on with the car?
No.
Okay. The photo that you were shown earlier, and if I can have photo 1, I think that's 150C. Put back up for me, please. All right. You can see it on the screen to your left.
Yes.
All right. This is an overhead, kind of like a satellite depiction of the entire area. Is that right?
Yes.
This is you would agree with me. This is a depiction from the common day, from today, from the 2024, right?
With the green trees?
Yeah. Well, okay, maybe.
Some wintertime now.
All right, let me put it this way, right? It is wintertime, and trees aren't green. Yes, this is not what the area looked like back in 2013. Is it fair to say?
I mean, a little difference. I know it used to be a McDonald's, but I can't remember if the McDonald's was there then either.
Okay, fair to say that looking at this picture, you know it, and you know the area because you've patrolled that area. You've been there since '04.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can look at this photograph and you can say, well, that's the Summerdale Commons apartment complex, and you can see where the Skyline Laundromat is. But the truth is, as we're looking at it, you can't see the fences that you're talking about that you'd have to navigate to get from one location to the next. True?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. And although we see Cleveland Avenue, we see you see what the red pin, whatever they call it, is? All right. That's essentially indicating where the entrance to that part of Summerdale Commons apartment is, right? Mm-hmm. All right. But it's fair to say that you can't see Like you see where the laundromat is, but you don't see the houses that are obscured by the trees right in front of the laundromat, right?
I can see two.
Okay, you talking about the ones with the red tops?
There's a space, but I'm not sure. But there's a space. You want me to show it up here?
All right, can I approach with this, Judge?
You may, sir.
All right. All right, I'm gonna play teacher for a second. I'm gonna use this. Turn around for me if you get a chance, okay? All right, so that's our laundromat, right?
No.
No?
Nope.
Where's the laundromat?
Where the blue?
Right here?
There it is.
Okay, so that's a laundromat.
Yeah.
And this
The
is
tree is covering that parking lot area where we was at. Yeah.
right here, right? Mm-hmm. And then aren't there some houses like right here?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's a house right there in that little space.
Okay, but you can't really see that, right?
No.
Okay, but there's some house. There's a house here. There's a fence here,
Yep.
and then there's a wall that comes down. That's where you guys were sitting in the car, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you recall helicopter units that came out on that day?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, because that's when all the noise and stuff started.
Okay.
Like everything was quiet and like everything just broke out.
Next thing you know, you got a car dropping out the sky.
No, I'm talking about after that.
Then you got helicopters flying up above.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, though, you weren't involved with that portion of it in terms of looking for anyone or anything like that, right?
Who?
You know who Officer Bridget Porter is?
Yeah, she's an investigator.
Investigator. She was. Do you recall seeing her on that day?
Yes.
Okay. And you were subpoenaed to come here to testify. You were outside in the hallway, right?
Say again?
You were subpoenaed to come and testify, and before you came in, you were outside in the hallway.
Yes.
Okay. You see Bridget Porter out there?
No.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Any further cross? Mr. Sharp?
Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
Okay.
Does Investigator Porter still work for APD?
Yes.
So she's local?
That part, I don't know what department that she's in, but she's an investigator with us, yes.
For Atlanta Police Department?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Any redirect, sir?
Briefly, Your Honor. Officer Black, with statements in the 150 Charlie you were just discussing with Mr. Adams, how do you know that you can get from coin laundry to that second portion of the Summerdale apartment complex on foot?
How do I know?
Yeah.
I've seen the fence. Yeah, it's the fence that's basically separating those houses, backyards, that leads right on over to the second phase over there of apartments. And there's a fence that's separating the apartment building and that last house just north of the complex.
Is the fences you had just discussed any higher or longer than the fence you would have had to initially scale to get over right where your car crashed?
Well, the fence that's at the laundromat, the coin laundry place, is high with wires on it. Those are just regular chain link fence to the backyards of people's property. So now they're basically shorter.
Thank you, Officer Black. No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything further, Mr. Adams?
I got one last question.
All right.
Okay, two last questions.
All right. We'll see.
Hedging my bets. When you saw the other individuals who got out of the car and went to the right, you don't know where they went, do you?
All I know, they went to fence. That's it.
All right. That's all. Thank you.
All right, sir. Mr. Short, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Anyone else? All right. Anything further, Mr. Atkins?
No, Your Honor.
All right. At this point in time, may Senior Patrol Officer Black be permanently temporarily excused as a witness.
Permanently, Your Honor.
All right, Officer Black, appreciate your patience with us. I'm going to go ahead and permanently excuse you as a witness. You're free to go about your usual duties and avocation. Just don't discuss your testimony to anybody except the attorneys in this case, okay?
Gotcha.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
All right. Do you have another witness ready?
We do. He's coming down. If the court would afford us 2 minutes to make sure he's downstairs.
All right.
There he is. He's here.
Who you have?
Thank you.
And who are you summoning next?
State Calls Detective Vincent Velasquez.
All right, Detective Velasquez, if you could please approach the witness stand. Once you get there, before you sit down, turn and face Sergeant Ingram and be sworn as witness, sir.
Raise your right hand and swear affirm testimony you give the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
That's it. So let's spell your first and last name for the court. Now we're doing my please.
Vincent Velasquez, VELAZQUEZ.
Good afternoon, Detective Velasquez.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
And is it still detective?
No, ma'am. I'm retired.
All right. What do you do now professionally?
Right now, I am the owner of a security consulting business, Velasquez Consultants.
And what do you do as the owner of Velasquez Consultants?
So I do a variety of things under the umbrella of the business. I do expert witness work for civil cases, wrongful death, sexual assault, police procedures cases. I do security evaluations. Also, under the umbrella, I hold the title of Director of Security for the Atlanta Hawks, Director of Team Security. And I've had that position for the last 8 years.
What professional background do you have that qualifies you to do what you do with the Hawks and as the owner of a security firm?
So I was a police officer for 22 years with Atlanta PD, starting in 1995 until my retirement in 2017.
And as a police officer with the Atlanta Police Department, what areas of the department did you work within?
I started my career as a patrol officer working downtown and midtown Atlanta. I did that for about a year, and then from there I went to a tactical drug unit called Red Dog in 1997, and I stayed in that unit for 2.5 years until the year of 2000. I did a brief stint as a background investigator for police applicants for about 6 months, and I was promoted to detective in November of 2000. Went to homicide and have stayed in homicide for my entire career, 17 years, or the rest of my career.
Now, no longer working as a detective with the City of Atlanta, does any of your professional work involve any of the cases that you work while at the City of Atlanta currently?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Okay. Does any of the work that you do now outside of being a detective with the Atlanta Police Department, does any of the work that you do now have anything to do with the cases that you work at the City of Atlanta Police Department? Do you have any?
Yes.
Okay, what?
So I also have a TV show that highlighted myself, and Detective David Quinn was my partner for 17 years. So the TV show, under the auspice of my business, was for 4 seasons, highlighting the cases we worked, the solved cases that we had. Each episode is about a case, the victim, how we solved it. We've done that for the last 4 years.
And to show those episodes, do you revisit or review any of the files that you worked during that time?
We do.
Laying a foundation for other questions.
I'll give you a little bit of latitude. Overruled objection.
Thank you. You may answer that question.
Yes, we do.
During your time with the Atlanta Police Department, were you certified as a law enforcement officer by the state of Georgia?
I was.
How long did you retain your certification?
Throughout my career, 22 years.
Did you ever lose your certification as a law enforcement officer?
No.
During your time with the Atlanta Police Department, did you work any cases involving the residents of Zone 3 in Atlanta?
Yes.
Are you able to give a number to how many cases you worked involving residents of Zone 3?
Hundreds, over 300. Well, combined from when I was in Red Dog, we were in Zone 3 heavily, and then throughout my career in homicide, cases where I either was the lead detective, assisting detective, or even witnesses to other homicides, residents that lived in Zone 3, so I spent a lot of time in Zone 3.
And you said you spent a lot of time in Zone 3. Did you interact with the residents of Zone 3 during that time?
Yes.
In what ways?
Interviews, knock and talks, neighborhood canvases, homicides, actual homicide scenes, and spent a lot of time knocking on doors.
Was every person that you interviewed in Zone 3 a suspect in a murder?
Oh, no.
I'm going to object to relevance.
I'll sustain the objection.
Can you give a number for how many residents of Zone 3 you interacted with as an officer and a detective and now as your time outside of law enforcement?
If I had to guess, I would say well over 300 or 400 people.
And did you ever have occasion to visit the homes of the residents of Zone 3 that you communicated with?
Many times.
Are you able to give a number to how many homes within Zone 3 that you had occasion to
Your Honor, I'm going to
visit?
object to relevance.
Your Honor, I'm setting a foundation. I can approach.
Yeah, could you please?
Yes.
knife coming at the officer, just as a few examples. That would be, those instances I just explained would be called an aggravated assault. So that has to be investigated. To answer that question, it depends on the detective in homicide. It depends on the complexity of that precipitating crime that occurred, and the example I gave was aggravated assault. There were detectives that were assigned to the precinct. Zone 1 had their own detectives, and they would cover robberies, and they would cover burglaries and thefts and things of that nature, and as well as aggravated assaults. The homicide detective could make the decision, depending on the actual complexity of that particular case, whether they want to handle the precipitating crime investigation or work it in conjunction with the precinct detective. And we were talking Zone 3, so as an example, Zone 3 detective could have worked the robbery or an ag assault, while homicide worked just the police shooting. Or homicide detective can make the decision, I'm going to investigate the entire incident from start to finish.
Would the officer who was involved in the shooting be allowed to continue to investigate any alleged crime that led to the shooting?
No.
Why not?
So it's the general feeling that the officer that's involved in the shooting, we have to, as a homicide, have to make a determination whether that officer acted negligently. If that officer did, as an example, I can give you a plain example. There's a threat, officer said, I was fear of my life and I shot. We determined that the threat ended way before the officer shot. Then that officer could be charged with aggravated assault. We take the officer out of that mix because we want them, it would be difficult for that officer to remain objective in investigating their own crime, the precipitating crime that led to them to making the decision to fire their weapon. Therefore, they are completely removed from that whole scenario.
So as OIS, the officer involved shooting team, would you have to make determinations sometimes whether an officer acted criminally or with criminal intent?
That is exactly what we do. Our investigation is a criminal investigation. Simultaneously, Internal Affairs is doing an administrative investigation. So while we are trying to determine if the officer acted criminally, Internal Affairs is investigating whether the officer violated policy. The officer could have violated policy, as an example, could have had the wrong ammunition in their weapon. Doesn't change what happened, but they're not following policy, or they may not have had their right equipment on their duty belt that day. Internal Affairs would look at that and make those determinations. We solely looked at, was the officer's actions lawful? And if they were, well, regardless of what they were, we turn our findings over to the district attorney's office.
Did you investigate an incident that occurred on September 11, 2013, and that involved investigator Malik Roberson L?
I was involved in parts of that investigation, yes.
Were you the lead investigator?
I was not.
Who was the lead investigator?
Detective David Quinn.
How did you become involved?
As a member of the team, the officer involved shooting team, if we're all at work at the same time, we'll typically all go to the scene together as a team. Within that mini squad within homicide, there's a rotation. So homicide has their own rotation where the next homicide that occurs, whoever's on call within that rotation gets that. Within the officer involved shooting team, whoever within that team is next up, David Quinn happened to be up that day. He then asked me to handle the actual shooting location once we learned there were multiple locations involved in this case.
What was the location that you were tasked with investigating?
It was 2475 Old Hateville Road, Summerdale Commons Apartments.
Besides yourself, what other OIS team members responded, or officer involved shooting team members responded to the shooting incident itself?
I recall David Quinn and myself initially responding just to the shooting location at the apartment complex at first.
Okay. Now, were there any factors involved in that September 11, 2013 incident that led to the officer-involved shooting team handling both the shooting that occurred and the incident that was alleged to have precipitated the shooting, which was an aggravated assault?
So there was a conversation once we understood the complexity of what was happening, because there were multiple crime scenes. And I say that to mean there was a crime scene where the shooting occurred. There was a crime scene where a vehicle struck a gate and caused damage. There were there was another area where a vehicle crashed into a laundromat. So based on that, and I recall a discussion with Detective Quinn, he decided that he was going to handle the entire investigation.
Now, did you all get a call over the radio when you were notified about the officer-involved shooting with respect to investigator Marie Roberson L?
Yes.
What is a 63?
Signal 63 is when an officer, we speak in signals and codes. So a signal 63 is when an officer needs immediate help. And typically it's in an emergency situation where they just give their location and yell signal 63, and that indicates any officers hearing this to head to that location for assistance.
And in September 11th of 2013, did the Atlanta Police Department have only one channel for radio traffic?
No.
Would you describe the various channels for the jury?
There was and still is to this day 6 precincts, 6 zones, zone 1 through 6. Each zone has its own radio frequency. Detective radio has had its own frequency. Special operations had their own frequencies. And then there's sub-frequencies within those channels I just described for surveillance. As an example, if I'm on detective radio, there are other detectives trying to talk to a dispatcher, and I wanted to talk to, since we're talking Detective Quinn, I call him on the radio, and I want to talk about something that I don't need to tie up the radio with. I would say switch to surveillance. So detective radio would have a surveillance channel. We would switch there and have it's not private, anyone can switch over and listen, but we're not tying up traffic. Every zone had that. Every special operations radio frequency has that. And then there were several other channels that they call TAC channels, or talk around channels, where I could call a detective or an officer from another zone and ask them to switch over to TAC 1 or TAC 2, so I could have a semi-private conversation and not tie up their radio frequency or my own.
Would it have been uncommon in an incident such as the one you responded to on September 11, 2013, to divert radio traffic to a TAC channel?
No, it was very common for that to happen.
And were there any circumstances involved in that incident to which you responded that would have led to the traffic being switched to a TAC channel?
Yes, I do believe that there was some direction for all units on the scene to switch to a TAC channel. I don't recall which TAC channel that was.
When you did respond to the incident on September 11, 2013, would you tell the jury what you did?
When I arrived on scene, first of all, from the radio traffic, I understood what I was looking for. I knew there was a shooting, and just knowing when a gun is fired, there's shell casings that come out. So upon arrival, my expectations were met that the crime scene was restricted by yellow police tape. There were several uniformed officers restricting access. I arrived at Somerdale Commons Apartments. I could clearly see the gate. One of the gates, I believe, was the exit gate, looked mangled, like it had just been rammed by something. And then I entered the crime scene through the yellow tape and met with, I believe Detective Quinn may have been there already, or we arrived simultaneously in separate cars. There was an officer who I do not recall the name, in uniform, who was maintaining that scene, and then started to direct me in some evidence that they found. Shell casings, there were just debris on the ground. And at that point, I started to just evaluate what would be next as far as collecting evidence.
Did you call for a crime scene technician?
I did.
Now, what did crime scene technicians do that you weren't able as an investigator to do?
Crime scene technicians are and the Atlanta Police Department are civilian employees that are trained in evidence collection, identification, processing, fingerprinting, supergluing things for fingerprints, photographing. Our crime scene unit did just that. That's what they're tasked with doing. Every homicide scene, there is a crime scene tech or several techs on scene. And what they do is, at our direction, start to process the crime scene as we start to identify evidence. Could be blood, could be a weapon, it could be bullet casings or bullets or damage. And at our direction, they take photographs, measurements, and then eventually actually collect that evidence physically and take it with them to be processed later. And it could be either processed by themselves, they had their own crime lab, APD did at the time, or send it to the GBI, which is the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, or sometimes even to the FBI.
Who was the crime scene technician that you called to assist you on September 11th of 2013?
Her last name is Otey, O-T-E-Y.
And did Otey carry out duties only? Did she decide on her own what to photograph or what not to, or was that done under your direction?
It is done under my direction. However, Otey was a very experienced crime scene technician. We've worked together for many, many years. At that point, I had been in homicide 13 years. So it's not uncommon, and in this particular instance, I did not direct her to take every single photograph. I trusted, and to this day still do, that she knew what photographs I needed. But there was direction. There were some directions as I started to find casings and debris where I probably said, I need you to really focus on this or get a close-up of the casing. But there were many other photographs of the area and the crime scene that she was taking on her own.
So,
Yes, Your Honor.
ladies and gentlemen, how about a break? For me, okay? No, purists. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 10-minute break, take comfort, and we'll come back and continue with our examination, okay? All rise for our jury, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our jury has left us. Retired Detective Leslie, you can take 10 minutes, okay?
Thank you.
And everybody else, I'll see you back in 10 minutes. Anyone else? All right. Anything further, Mr. Atkins?
No, Your Honor.
All right. At this point in time, may Senior Patrol Officer Black be permanently temporarily excused as a witness.
Permanently, Your Honor.
All right, Officer Black, appreciate your patience with us. We're going to go ahead and permanently excuse you as a witness. You're free to go about your usual duties and avocation. Just don't discuss your testimony to anybody except the attorneys in this case, okay?
Gotcha.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
All right. Do you have another witness ready?
We do. He's coming down. If the court would afford us 2 minutes to make sure he's downstairs.
All right.
There he is. He's here.
Who you have? Oh.
Thank you.
And who are you summoning next?
State calls Detective Vincent Velasquez.
All right, Detective Velasquez, if you could please approach the witness stand. Once you get there, before you sit down, turn and face Sergeant Ingram and be sworn as a witness, sir.
Raise your right hand and swear affirm testimony you give the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
That's it. So let's spell your first and last name for the court. Now we're doing my please.
Vincent Velasquez, V-E-L-A-Z-Q-U-E-Z.
Good afternoon, Detective Velasquez.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
And is it still detective?
No, ma'am. I'm retired.
All right. What do you do now professionally?
Right now, I am the owner of a security consulting business, Velasquez Consultants.
And what do you do as the owner of Velasquez Consultants?
So I do a variety of things under the umbrella of the business. I do expert witness work for civil cases, wrongful death, sexual assault, police procedures cases. I do security evaluations. Also, under the umbrella, I hold the title of Director of Security for the Atlanta Hawks, Team Security, Director of Team Security. And I've had that position for the last 8 years.
What professional background do you have that qualifies you to do what you do with the Hawks and as the owner of a security firm?
So I was a police officer for 22 years with Atlanta PD, starting in 1995 until my retirement in 2017.
And as a police officer with the Atlanta Police Department, what areas of the department did you work within?
I started my career as a patrol officer working downtown and midtown Atlanta. I did that for about a year, and then from there I went to a tactical drug unit called Red Dog in 1997, and I stayed in that unit for 2.5 years until the year of 2000. I did a brief stint as a background investigator for police applicants for about 6 months, and I was promoted to detective in November of 2000. Went to homicide and have stayed in homicide for my entire career, 17 years, or the rest of my career.
Now, no longer working as a detective with the City of Atlanta, does any of your professional work involve any of the cases that you work while at the City of Atlanta currently?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Okay. Does any of the work that you do now outside of being a detective with the Atlanta Police Department, does any of the work that you do now have anything to do with the cases that you work at the City of Atlanta Police Department? Do you have to?
Yes.
Okay, what?
So I also have a TV show that highlighted myself, and Detective David Quinn was my partner for 17 years. So the TV show, under the auspice of my business, was for 4 seasons, highlighting the cases we worked, the solved cases that we had. Each episode is about a case, the victim, how we solved it. We've done that for the last 4 years.
And to show those episodes, do you revisit or review any of the files that you worked during that time?
We do.
Laying a foundation for other questions.
I'll give you a little bit of latitude. Overruled objection.
Thank you. You may answer that question.
Yes, we do.
During your time with the Atlanta Police Department, were you certified as a law enforcement officer by the state of Georgia?
I was.
How long did you retain your certification?
Throughout my career, 22 years.
Did you ever lose your certification as a law enforcement officer?
No.
During your time with the Atlanta Police Department, did you work any cases involving the residents of Zone 3 in Atlanta?
Yes.
Are you able to give a number to how many cases you worked involving residents of Zone 3?
Hundreds, over 300. Well, combined from when I was in Red Dog, we were in Zone 3 heavily, and then throughout my career in homicide, cases where I either was the lead detective, assisting detective, or even witnesses to other homicides, residents that lived in Zone 3, so I spent a lot of time in Zone 3.
And you said you spent a lot of time in Zone 3. Did you interact with the residents of Zone 3 during that time?
Yes.
In what ways?
Interviews, knock and talks, neighborhood canvases, homicides, actual homicide scenes. Spent a lot of time knocking on doors.
Was every person that you interviewed in Zone 3 a suspect in a murder?
Oh, no.
I'm going to object to relevance.
I'll sustain the objection.
Can you give a number for how many residents of Zone 3 you interacted with as an officer and a detective, and now as your time outside of law enforcement?
If I had to guess, I would say well over 300 or 400 people.
And did you ever have occasion to visit the homes of the residents of Zone 3 that you communicated with?
Many times.
Are you able to give a number to how many homes within Summerton that you've had patients
Your Honor, I'm going to object to relevance.
Your Honor, I'm setting a foundation. I can approach.
Yeah, could you please?
Yes.
knife coming at the officer, just as a few examples. That would be, those instances I just explained would be called an aggravated assault. So that has to be investigated. To answer that question, it depends on the detective in homicide. It depends on the complexity of that precipitating crime that occurred, and the example I gave was aggravated assault. There were detectives that were assigned to the precincts. Zone 1 had their own detectives, and they would cover robberies, and they would cover burglaries and thefts and things of that nature, and as well as aggravated assaults. The homicide detective could make the decision, depending on the actual complexity of that particular case, whether they want to handle the precipitating crime investigation or work it in conjunction with the precinct detective. And we were talking Zone 3, so as an example, Zone 3 detective could have worked the robbery or an ag assault, while homicide worked just the police shooting. Or homicide detective can make the decision, I'm going to investigate the entire incident from start to finish.
Would the officer who was involved in the shooting be allowed to continue to investigate any alleged crime that led to the shooting?
No.
Why not?
So it's the general feeling that the officer that's involved in the shooting, we have to, as a homicide, have to make a determination whether that officer acted negligently. If that officer did, as an example, I can give you a plain example. There's a threat, officer said, I was fear of my life and I shot. We determined that the threat ended way before the officer shot. Then that officer could be charged with aggravated assault. We take the officer out of that mix because we want them, it would be difficult for that officer to remain objective in investigating their own crime, the precipitating crime that led to them to making a decision to fire their weapon. Therefore, they are completely removed from that whole scenario.
So as OIS, the officer involved shooting team, would you have to make determinations sometimes whether an officer acted criminally or with criminal intent?
That is exactly what we do. Our investigation is a criminal investigation. Simultaneously, Internal Affairs is doing an administrative investigation. So while we are trying to determine if the officer acted criminally, Internal Affairs is investigating whether the officer violated policy. The officer could have violated policy, as an example, could have had the wrong ammunition in their weapon. Doesn't change what happened, but they're not following policy, or they may not have had their right equipment on their duty belt that day. Internal Affairs would look at that and make those determinations. We solely looked at, was the officer's actions lawful? And if they were, well, regardless of what they were, we turn our findings over to the district attorney's office.
Did you investigate an incident that occurred on September 11, 2013, and that involved investigator Malik Roberson L?
I was involved in parts of that investigation, yes.
Were you the lead investigator?
I was not.
Who was the lead investigator?
Detective David Quinn.
How did you become involved?
As a member of the team, the officer involved shooting team, if we're all at work at the same time, we'll typically all go to the scene together as a team. Within that mini squad within homicide, there's a rotation. So homicide has their own rotation where the next homicide that occurs, whoever's on call within that rotation gets that. Within the officer involved shooting team, whoever within that team is next up, David Quinn happened to be up that day. He then asked me to handle the actual shooting location once we learned there were multiple locations involved in this case.
What was the location that you were tasked with investigating?
It was 2475 Old Hateville Road, Summerdale Commons Apartments.
Besides yourself, what other OIS team members responded, or officer-involved shooting team members responded to the shooting incident itself?
I recall David Quinn and myself initially responding just to the shooting location at the apartment complex at first.
Okay. Now, were there any factors involved in that September 11, 2013 incident that led to the officer-involved shooting team handling both the shooting that occurred and the incident that was alleged to have precipitated the shooting, which was an aggravated assault.
So there was a conversation once we understood the complexity of what was happening, because there were multiple crime scenes. And I say that to mean there was a crime scene where the shooting occurred. There was a crime scene where a vehicle struck a gate and caused damage. There was another area where a vehicle crashed into a laundromat. So based on that, and I recall a discussion with Detective Quinn, he decided that he was going to handle the entire investigation.
Now, did you all get a call over the radio when you were notified about the officer-involved shooting with respect to Investigator Ruth Roberson L?
Yes.
What is a 63?
Signal 63 is when an officer, we speak in signals and codes. So a signal 63 is when an officer needs immediate help. And typically it's in an emergency situation where they just give their location and yell signal 63, and that indicates any officers hearing this to head to that location for assistance.
And in September 11th of 2013, did the Atlanta Police Department have only one channel for radio traffic?
No.
Would you describe the various channels for the jury?
There was and still is to this day 6 precincts, 6 zones, zone 1 through 6. Each zone has its own radio frequency. Detective radio has had its own frequency. Special operations had their own frequencies. And then there's sub-frequencies within those channels I just described for surveillance. As an example, if I'm on detective radio, there are other detectives trying to talk to a dispatcher, and I wanted to talk to, since we're talking Detective Quinn, I call him on the radio, and I want to talk about something that I don't need to tie up the radio with. I would say switch to surveillance. So detective radio would have a surveillance channel. We would switch it there and have it's not private, anyone can switch over and listen, but we're not tying up traffic. Every zone had that. Every special operations radio frequency has that. And then there were several other channels that they call TAC channels, or talk around channels, where I could call a detective or an officer from another zone and ask them to switch over to TAC 1 or TAC 2, so I could have a semi-private conversation and not tie up their radio frequency or my own.
Would it have been uncommon in an incident such as the one you responded to on September 11, 2013, to divert radio traffic to a TAC channel?
No, it was very common for that to happen.
And were there any circumstances involved in that incident to which you responded that would have led to the crime scene technician Ote? I'm going to approach you with what I have marked as State's Exhibit 41 Charlie through 53 Charlie, as well as State's Exhibit 84 Charlie, which are all photographs previously served to the defense in discovery, Your Honor. And I'll ask if you recognize State's Exhibit 41 Charlie through 53 Charlie and State's Exhibit 84 Charlie.
I do.
How do you recognize them?
These are photographs of the actual shooting scene at Summerdale Commons apartments, parking lot, vehicles, things of that nature.
And are they accurate reflections of the areas that are captured within those exhibits?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state tender State's Exhibit 41 Charlie through 53 Charlie and 84 Charlie as evidence.
Any objection?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Of course, let me take these from you and I'll give them to counsel.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
53 and I need to.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. We have no objection.
All right. States 41 Charlie through 53 Charlie and States 84 Charlie are admitted and may be published as you see fit.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to hand these exhibits back to you, and I'm also going to publish them on the screen. So, to your left and to your right and behind you. And with the assistance of co-counsel Atkins, I'm going to show you how to use that screen in front of you so that you can actually touch and make markings on it.
Okay. Got it.
So showing you States 41 Charlie, please tell the jury what we're looking at. And you can also, if it is easier for you, use the larger screen to your right and rear and the pointer that is in front of you to display or to describe what you're talking about.
I would rather stand and use a pointer.
Please do. Thank you.
I'm old school.
All right.
I'll stand to this side so everyone can see. This is actually, as you can see, yellow police tape. This is the leasing office of Somerdale Commons Apartments. And that's a Dodge Durango that's, I believe, is the one that is owned by the manager of the apartment complex.
Did you have interactions with that owner?
Yes.
And was that Dodge Durango in any way affected by the incident that you came to investigate?
Yes.
All right. How was it affected?
The rear windows, both rear windows, passenger compartment were broken from bullets striking the vehicle.
Right. Going to State's Exhibit 42, Charlie. Would you tell the jury what we're looking at?
Yes, ma'am. 42 is another close-up of this Durango. As you can see, broken glass on the ground, the left rear window broken out. And also you can see the damage to the gate of the apartment complex.
43, Charlie.
43, Charlie, is this the rear of the vehicle showing the tag number?
44, Charlie.
44, Charlie, is just another close-up of the tag.
45, Charlie.
45 is the front of the vehicle.
And we'll keep cycling through. 46.
46 is going to be the right side vehicle of the vehicle. And as you can see, the right rear window has been broken out as well.
47.
47 is the right rear window glass that's broken out on the ground next to the vehicle.
48.
48 is a close-up of the right rear vehicle's window broken.
Now, there was no one inside the vehicle at the time that it was shattered, correct, to your knowledge?
There was not. No.
All right. And 49, Charlie.
49 is just another view of the left rear window broken out of the vehicle.
50, Charlie.
50, Charlie, is a close-up view of the left rear window being broken out.
51, Charlie.
51, Charlie, is just the glass on the ground in front of the left rear window.
52, Charlie.
52, Charlie, is another close-up of the same glass.
53, Charlie.
53, Charlie, is a view of the inside of the vehicle from the left rear with the door open, looking out of the right rear window of the vehicle.
And 84, Charlie.
84, Charlie, is the left rear door of the vehicle open and glass from the window on the floorboard of the car.
Thank you. I'm going to now show you State's Exhibit 54, Charlie, through State's Exhibit 77, Charlie, which are photographs that I would like for you to take a look at. You may have a seat.
Okay.
Looking at State's Exhibit 54 Charlie through State's Exhibit, I believe that I gave you through State's Exhibit 79 Charlie. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 54 Charlie through State's Exhibit 79 Charlie?
I do.
How do you recognize them?
They are also photographs of evidence collected on the scene, bullet casings, another vehicle, debris that's on the ground, and various photographs of either the same items in close-up form or farther away.
Are these fair and accurate depictions of the areas of the scene you investigated on September the 11th, 2013?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state tender State's Exhibit 54 Charlie through State's Exhibit 79 Charlie. I will give them to defense court to review.
Let me just take a moment to review them, Judge. And for the record, we're happy to review anything else.
And we've also provided them as discovered. And Your Honor, we've also provided a PDF of all of these exhibits and the numbers to defense counsel prior to this examination.
All right.
Thank you. We're happy to look through any of the 1,000 photographs prior to.
And Your Honor, while defense is reviewing those, I will also provide the next set, 80 through
Can
83.
we do, all right, go ahead and show them as well, okay?
3 Charlie and 85 Charlie through 101 Charlie that I will be showing to you.
As regards, excuse me, as regards State's Exhibits 59 Charlie through 79 Charlie, we have no objection.
It's 54. I think it's 54, Charlie.
Yeah. That's it, right?
Yeah, of course, yes, sir. Absolutely. All right. All right, they're admitted, maybe shown the jury as you see fit. And then what's the next set of documents again, madam?
It is State's Exhibit 80 Charlie through 83 Charlie, and State's Exhibit 85 Charlie through State's Exhibit 101 Charlie that they are reviewing now. I will not continue until they've had a chance to look at it.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Any objections, gentlemen, from States 85, C, Charlie through 101, Charlie?
No, we're not going to have any objection to those or
Okay.
any of the subsequent ones.
All right, so states 80 Charlie through 83 Charlie and 85 Charlie through 101 Charlie are admitted and may be published as you see fit.
Thank you. And since there are no objections, we'll just keep rolling right along. So, retired investigator Velasquez, would you please resume your position with the pointer? And we're going to move now to State's Exhibit 54, Charlie. Would you please tell the jury what we're looking at?
54 Charlie is a view of the parking lot in front of building 100. And evidence marker number 4, I need to refer to my report
Okay.
so I can identify what number 4 was.
I have also marked State's Exhibit 117 Charlie, 117 Charlie Alpha through 117 Charlie Delta. I would ask you if this is a crime scene diagram that you
I'll refer to that.
that you created.
It is.
Is that an accurate reflection of the crime scene diagram that you created to depict this crime scene?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state tenders State's Exhibit 117, 117 Charlie, 117 Charlie Alpha, 117 Charlie Beta, 117 Charlie Charlie, and 117 Charlie Delta as evidence. The defense looked at it just now.
Let me see if I get this correct. 117 Charlie.
Your Honor, 117 Charlie was the first one that
That's not what you said.
it is not. My apologies.
Okay, all right. So, 117 Charlie, 117 Charlie Alpha. What was the next one again?
117 Charlie Beta.
Charlie Baker.
Baker?
Well, it's Bravo, actually.
Bravo.
So Charlie Bravo. And then what's the next one?
117 Charlie Charlie. And 117 Charlie Delta.
All right. Any objection, Mr. Adams?
No, sir.
All right. States 117 Charlie, 117 Charlie Alpha, 117 Charlie Bravo, 117 Charlie Charlie, and 117 Charlie Delta are admitted and may be published as you see fit.
Thank you, Your Honor. You may go ahead, retired investigator Velazquez, explaining what is in State's Exhibit 54 Charlie.
54, specifically evidence marker number 4 is a 40 caliber casing, bullet casing.
And what are we looking at? Is that a just another view in 55 Charlie of State's Exhibit 54 Charlie?
55 Charlie. Well, this photograph depicts another photograph of evidence marker number 4 in front of building 400 in the parking lot. This is another photograph of the same thing.
Okay. As we look at State's Exhibit 56 Charlie, what is it?
56 Charlie is evidence marker number 3, which is, you probably cannot see from this photograph, but there is a 40 caliber bullet casing next to that evidence marker.
And when crime scene technicians are photographing evidence, do they take a single shot of the evidence generally, or do they take multiple shots?
Multiple shots.
What is the purpose of that?
It's to put it into context of the distance between, the general area where the evidence is located. As you can see, it's very difficult to see the casing, then an intermediate photo, and then a close-up photo so you can actually see what that marker represents.
And so going to 57 Charlie, what are we looking at?
57 Charlie is just another photograph of evidence marker number 3, and I myself at this angle can't even see the shell casing yet.
So let's look at 58 Charlie and see if you're able to see it.
So 58 Charlie is actually the casing, and if I could draw your attention to right there, you can see a circular photograph of a bullet casing sitting straight up, kind of like what a stovepipe would look like.
So showing you State's Exhibit 59 Charlie, what are we looking at?
59 Charlie is another photograph of evidence marker number 4, which is a 40 caliber shell casing right there next to the yellow marker.
And going to 61 Charlie.
61 Charlie is a closer view of evidence marker number 4, the bullet casing right there.
What are we looking at in State's Exhibit 62 Charlie?
62 Charlie is going to be another photograph of another 40 caliber casing, evidence marker number 5. You can barely make it out right next to the evidence marker right there.
Looking at 64 Charlie, tell us what that is in evidence marker number 5.
64 Charlie is a close-up view of evidence marker 5, 40 caliber bullet casing.
66 Charlie, what are we looking at?
66 Charlie is evidence marker number 8, which is a piece of foam that came from Detective Robinson L., Detective Booker Higgins, and Detective Porter's vehicle after it was struck by another vehicle. This piece of foam right here came from the front bumper of their vehicle.
And are we able to see in State's Exhibit 66 other evidence placards, specifically evidence placard 7, 6, 4, and 3? And I can give you the photograph itself.
Okay, I couldn't see from that angle.
And on the other evidence placard.
If I can stand here. Yes. So evidence, this photograph also contains evidence placard number 6 and number 7, 6 being another piece of foam from the bumper of the detective's vehicle, and evidence marker number 7 also being a piece of foam from the front bumper of the detective's vehicle.
And what are we looking at in State's Exhibit 67?
67 is a close-up of evidence marker number 6, a piece of foam from the detective's vehicle.
And looking at 69, Charlie.
Another close-up, evidence marker number 7 is another piece of foam next to evidence marker number 7 from the detective's vehicle.
Going to State's Exhibit 71, Charlie. Give me just one moment to scroll through. Yeah. What are we looking at in State's Exhibit 71, Charlie?
71, Charlie, is another photograph of number 8, evidence marker 8, a piece of foam from the detective's front bumpers of the vehicle.
And going to 72, Charlie, would you tell the jury what we're looking at?
72, Charlie, is a close-up of evidence marker number 9. I have it listed as foam from bumper of detective vehicle, but now I see the wires. I think I miscalculated that or misidentified that in my report. That's obviously a device, but it came from the front bumper of the detective's vehicle.
Looking at State's Exhibit 73, Charlie, are we able to see where that evidence marker 9 is located?
Evidence marker 9 is located by the front entrance of the apartment complex.
Right. Moving on to State's Exhibit 75, Charlie, as we scroll through. What are we looking at in State's Exhibit 75, Charlie?
75, Charlie, is evidence marker number 10, which is a 9mm bullet casing, different caliber gun.
And if we can go to 77, Charlie, just one moment.
77, Charlie, is a close-up of evidence marker 10 and the actual bullet casing, 9mm, right there.
And what are we looking at in 78, Charlie?
78, Charlie, is the vehicle that's parked near the front entrance of the complex where the 9mm casing was next to that you just saw.
And in 79, Charlie, are we looking at that same vehicle?
Yes. This is the same vehicle.
Going to State's Exhibit 83, Charlie. I'm sorry, 85, Charlie. What are we looking at?
85, Charlie, obviously there's a vehicle in the photograph, but more importantly, building 300, which is a photograph. Well, building 300.
Okay.
It's building 300.
Was there any significance to building 300 in the area you responded to?
Yes.
What was that significance?
Building 300 had bullet holes in an apartment window.
Showing you State's Exhibit 89, Charlie. What is State's Exhibit 89, Charlie?
89, Charlie, depicts the front door of apartment 306 that's located inside of building 300.
And what is the significance of apartment 306?
306 is the apartment that a bullet went through the resident's window.
Showing you State's Exhibit 90, Charlie. What are we looking at?
90, Charlie, is the inside of apartment 306 pointing towards the window of where the bullet came through.
And State's Exhibit 91, Charlie. What are we looking at?
91, Charlie, is a photograph of, again, the inside of the apartment where the bullet came through, more of an intermediate photo.
And going to State's Exhibit 93, Charlie. What are we looking at?
93, Charlie, is the same apartment 306, the actual bullet hole, or the hole that the bullet created when it went through the window.
Going to State's Exhibit 95, Charlie. What are we looking at?
95, Charlie, is apartment 306, excuse me, apartment 306, the dining room area, and next to this painting on the wall, there's a little area here which is a bullet hole in the drywall.
And if we go to State's 96, Charlie, are we able to see that bullet hole a little bit more clearly?
96, Charlie, depicts just a closer view of that bullet hole right there.
And looking at 97, Charlie.
97, Charlie, is another close-up of the actual bullet hole.
And what is depicted in State's Exhibit 98, Charlie?
So 98, Charlie, is again the window, this time with an evidence placard taped to the window, indicate number 1.
And going to State's Exhibit 100, Charlie, what are we looking at?
100, Charlie, is the same bullet hole in that dining room wall with evidence placard number 2.
Now, we're going to put up for the jury State's Exhibit 117, Charlie. Just one moment. And I'd like for you to describe for the jury what it is that you have in your hand. And it will be published in a short moment as 117, Charlie.
Are you asking me to testify to what I have in my hand first?
You may, yes, testify to what you have in your hand first.
Okay.
That would be a good idea. Thank you for saying that.
Understand. So what I'm holding here is my crime scene report. It is a report that I created, that indicates the evidence that I observed that day at the crime scene. Also, you're going to see a crime scene sketch that I actually drew, that you actually, more of a topical view, not to scale, that gives an idea of where the buildings are in relation to the parking lot. And you'll see numbers. Each number represents those placards that you saw earlier. And then you'll see a legend with what those numbers represent. As an example, 1 may say shell casing, 2 may say home, 3 may say building. I can't recall exactly what. But these are, and this is literally my report, a piece of my report.
And as we are looking at 117, Charlie, as we blow it up, would you just describe for the jury what is depicted in 117, Charlie, using the rest of your report if you need to?
Sure. So starting out with this is actually the crime scene sketch. Starting out with the building numbers, obviously building 300, building 100, apartment 306. And then starting with number 1, and you can see the line goes to the arrow into building 300, is a hole in the wall of building 300. I'm sorry, a hole in the window.
I'm sorry, we're having a little bit of a... There we go. Please continue.
1 represents a hole in the window of building 300, apartment 306. Number 2 represents a hole in the wall. 1 is the window, 2 is the hole in the wall, apartment 306. Evidence marker number 3 on this sketch in this grassy area indicates .40 caliber shell casing. Number 4, evidence marker on a sketch, .40 caliber shell casing. Number 5, .40 caliber shell casing. Number 6 represents foam from the detective's vehicle. Number 7 represents foam from the detective's vehicle. Number 8 represents foam from the detective's vehicle. Number 9, right here, represents foam from the detective's vehicle. And number 10, which is right here, represents the 9mm shell casing. And just to go back here to give you an idea, this is Old Hateville Road, and this is the front entrance to Somerville Commons Apartments.
Thank you. You may take your seat.
Thank you.
Why do you draw a crime scene diagram if you already have photographs of the evidence that is collected at your direction?
Part of the reason we create a sketch and diagram and do measurements is to get an overall view of the evidence as it sits at a scene. The second part of that reason is there are times where we may need to recreate a crime scene. We may need to go back out to a location and actually place evidence back where it was located. That's why we measure. We use reference points so we could clearly actually go out to this scene right today, if it would still remain in the same situation it was in 2013, and place a casing, place a piece of foam if we needed to physically see this again. I've only had to do that a few times in my career, but that's one reason. The more general reason is to demonstrate, as I just did now, the overall view of a crime scene from a topical view.
I'm going to show you now, and also let me ask you, were the items that are depicted in the photographs you just explained to the jury, were they collected?
They were.
And I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 151 Charlie, 152 Charlie, 153 Charlie, 154 Charlie, and 155 Charlie. And I'll ask you to take a look at them in turn. And here are some scissors so you may open them up. And let me know if you recognize what is contained in the exhibits. One Charlie got.
May I stand?
Yes, but don't publish what's inside.
Okay. I just need to open a little bag. Are you asking me to describe or just,
No, just
verify this? I do recognize.
They've been shown to the defense counsel already?
The defense did have an opportunity, but before we tender them, I will let you see what is being tendered.
All right.
I do recognize 154C.
I'm going to grab this out. And are you opening sealed packages as you see?
I am. Do I need to handle anything else?
Our State's Exhibit 151 Charlie, 152 Charlie, 153 Charlie, 154 Charlie, and 155 Charlie. Items of evidence collected from the scene that you responded to on September 11, 2013.
Was that a question? Are they the items?
Yes.
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, the state tender states exhibit 151 Charlie, 152 Charlie, 153 Charlie, 154 Charlie, and 155 Charlie is evidence.
Any objection?
No, sir.
All right. States 151 Charlie, 152 Charlie, 153 Charlie, 154 Charlie, and 155 Charlie are admitted to be published as you see fit.
Judge, given the court's earlier directive,
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to, as I mentioned earlier, it's about 4 o'clock, and we still have miles to go before we sleep, but this is where we're going to stop for today, okay? All right, so... All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we are going to, like I said, recess, and you are going to appear back for Monday morning, February the 26th. I'd like you all to be here for 10:30, okay? And we should start somewhere around 11 o'clock or thereabouts, okay? All right. Retired Detective Velasquez, you may come back, same thing, 10:30 on Monday. Sir, if you could please be back. Don't discuss your testimony with anybody except the attorneys in this case, okay?
Sir.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any ministerial inquiry of me? Okay, all right. Let's cover our ad nauseam admonitions. Remember, over the weekend, put your notepads in the basket and don't take them with you. And, of course, please don't discuss this case amongst yourselves in small groups or in large groups as you come to and from, I should say, your headquarters at your deliberation room. Of course, don't discuss this with anybody that's in your household. Don't phone a friend. Don't talk to anybody else about what's going on in the four walls of this courtroom. And of course, if somebody should approach you or try and contact you, you need to let Sergeant Ingram and myself know immediately. Any other inquiry of me at this point? Okay. Last thing, again, thank you for your patience that you've given us and are continuing to give us on a daily basis. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, that means a whole lot to all of us who are associated with this case, your patience, and we really appreciate that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, unless you have anything else of me, I'm going to go ahead and bid you all a very good weekend. Juror 204, if you'd remain just a second. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on Monday at 10:30, okay? All right, all rise. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. All right. Juror 204, I believe that you gave a lease to me. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And I want to say that, and I've talked that over with all the parties in here. Is that lease start tomorrow?
Well, it starts on Monday.
Starts on Monday, but I think that from your lease, can you take possession as of tomorrow?
I think I take official possession on the 26th.
On the 26th. So I remember something on the 24th or whatever, but
I think today my grandmother had to go down and give them the money for everything, for the deposit.
can you speak up just a little bit? Today you said your grandma had to go down and what?
Give them the security.
Deposit. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. And you are going to move on Monday. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the plan unless something else happens. But
Like we would prevent you from leaving?
yeah,
Okay. All right. Well, we're not going to do that. It is and I just want to make sure, what county are you moving to?
Cherokee.
Okay. And it is your intent and for you to no longer remain in Fulton County effective on Monday. Is that right?
That's my plan.
Okay. All right. Do you have any other options to remain in Fulton County?
No, I don't have any family
Okay.
that's over here.
You have to speak up, madam. I can't.
I don't have any family that's over here.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. In talking with the parties here, certainly understand and we appreciate your situation. We just want to make sure that you are going to be moving, and it appears from what you've told us now and your lease that as of Monday you will be moving to, or you'll be a resident of Cherokee County. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, is in your intent at that point in time, as you mentioned earlier, to go then get your driver's license and register to vote?
So I gotta change my ID.
Address first. Okay, all right. I'm sorry, speak up?
But I don't have a license.
It's just your ID, is that right? Okay, all right. Well, madam, I'm going to excuse you, but I have a couple of things that I need to kind of just share with you, okay? You cannot keep your notepad. You got to leave that with us, okay? Also, please do not discuss anything about this case until it's over. So it means you can't be outside giving interviews or your thoughts or anything like that. Now, until the matter